What if the reason your church isn't growing isn't your message, but it's where you're not showing up? As producers, we're trained to ask two simple questions. Where's the audience and how do we reach them? Over the last few years, so many churches have eliminated TV because digital felt smarter, faster, and honestly more measurable. Producers don't chase trends, they chase reach. But what if that assumption is costing you reach? I'm Dan Wathen, and this is the Producer Seat Podcast. According to Pew Research, over 60% of adults are engaging with Christian media every week. It's a lot. Think about it. That's not a niche. That's a majority of adults consistently consuming Christian media. In fact, research also shows that more than 2/3 of Americans describe Christian media as valuable and trustworthy. And even a big portion of non-Christians view it that way too. That's a trust metric most digital platforms can't claim. So the issue isn't whether people are watching. I just returned from speaking at the National Religious Broadcasters Convention in Nashville, where myself, Phil Cook, and John Ondo spoke on this very topic. TV isn't dead. The room was filled with TV programmers, station owners, network owners, as well as media leaders who were considering broadcast TV for their organizations. But here's the thing. When people say TV, they don't always mean the same thing. So let's define some terms. So today, whenever I say television, linear TV, or broadcast, I mean a program that's been seen on a local over-the-air TV channel, cable or satellite. So we're not talking about live stream or YouTube, even though I guess technically YouTube TV is a broadcast carrier because it's carrying the legacy networks. It's super complicated and it gets more complicated every day, trust me. So over the last several years, many churches and ministries made a shift. They went digital only, and I get it, because digital feels current, modern, plus you can measure it with analytics, you can track views, engagements, retarget, optimize, and you can't do that as easy with broadcast. I guess unless you're airing on a big network and you subscribe to some super expensive rating services. So honestly and often, broadcast becomes the first platform that gets cut or eliminated. Again, digital is super powerful. And in the rush towards digital, so many leaders have just stopped or stepped away or eliminated TV from the growth plan altogether. Think about it like a restaurant. DoorDash is great. It's incredible. It's quick. It's convenient, efficient. That's digital media. YouTube, social, streaming, on demand. It's fast. But just because DoorDash exists doesn't mean you stop going to sit-down restaurants. In fact, I went to one today. Sometimes you want convenience, and sometimes you want an experience in the ambiance. Sometimes you want to sit down and stay a while. So media works the same way. Streaming didn't kill TV, it changed how people watch. So eliminating one because the other's popular just misunderstands how people actually behave. Social media gets attention. TV gets trust, at least for the most part. I mean, there is some channels, say news networks and things that you may not want to trust, but overall there is a higher trust factor when someone views something on TV. And that's supported by research showing that Christian media is perceived as valuable and trustworthy by a large majority of Americans. Online assumes people are searching for something. TV meets people where they are. It could be the living room, bedroom, kitchen, maybe bathroom if you got a TV in there. Yes, streaming has surpassed broadcast in viewing share, but that only reflects how people consume media today. Many people continue to see broadcast as a legitimate, dependable source, especially for faith and family material. I recently heard a pastor tell the story of a family who showed up one Sunday and said, "We weren't looking for a church, but we were flipping channels late Saturday night a few weeks ago, and your program came on. We watched the whole thing, and we've been watching for weeks. And we decided today to come to your service." That family, they were just living, and TV met them where they were at. Digital depends on intent. TV captures attention without it. The problem isn't TV, it's how strategically we use it. So if your broadcast feels like a live service, you're gonna lose viewers. I mean, live stream on YouTube or your website gives you a ton of freedom. You're capturing everything from worship, the offering, baby dedications, announcements. What you see is what you get. When you use TV intentionally, it becomes incredibly strategic. You can shape it to be more streamlined and polished. If you air in your local city or region, you're building awareness. Your goal is to bring people and hopefully get people to walk through your front doors and become a part of your church. You're reinforcing presence. You're telling your city, hey, here we are. Local broadcasts can drive real attendance. Even during COVID, I saw many churches, or most all churches, went online, right? But many decided at that point to go and to develop a local broadcast, a 2830 program, and they bought airtime on Sunday and at different times. And they saw such a growth. They saw a whole new audience that would never go online or think to search them. And I think most of those shows are actually still running today. So it's super powerful. Another fantastic way to use it is churches with satellite campuses in different markets. I worked with a church in Louisiana who did this. They were launching several new churches. They would take their television program, buy airtime in that market, and air, let's say, 6 to 12 months before the campus would actually launch. This gave people a taste of what was coming. It was awareness, right? It was also great marketing, letting people know. So that's another great way to use it. So outside of your region, outside of your town, the broadcast stops being about your building or the church, and it shifts and it becomes about the pastor's voice and message. I recommend, after a church is tested locally, to expand nationally. Airtime's typically cheaper in small to mid markets. However, in larger markets, say like Dallas, LA, you're paying as much as you could to be on a national Christian network. TV starts the conversation and digital continues it. Christian TV audiences are incredibly loyal, even when the show or whatever's on TV at the moment isn't great. I don't know if your grandparents or parents ever did this, but I often remember grandma would leave the TV on all day on a Christian network. Even when the show was horrible, she didn't even like it, but she kept it on. Radio was kind of the same way. If you didn't like the song, you just kept it on the station. You didn't flip around. That kind of consistency is rare. Don't negate broadcast just because Gen Z or X doesn't get it, right? The older audience, they're more stable traditionally. And if your ministry depends on sustained giving and partnership, don't ignore that audience. Welcome it. There'll always be viewers in this category because there hasn't been a cure for aging yet. And research shows that Christian media is not just for older audiences. Family-oriented and younger adults are engaging with Christian content too, especially in cross-platform ways. TV's all about the long road, just like TV ads. It takes a while to build an audience. I tell pastors to typically take a 1 to 3 year road. It's going to take a while for people to find you and get familiar with you. Digital can create spikes. Broadcast cultivates long-term relationships. Loyal audiences build lasting ministries. But you say, Dan, we can't get any metrics on TV, so it's hard to justify the cost. I get it. And honestly, your TV program probably won't pay for itself. Most likely it might, but you have to see this as an outreach from your church. I was recently talking to a church media leader. They have a very large TV ministry. And they see it this way, that this is one of the biggest outreaches their church does. They also feed the poor, they do missions, community service, and they do television. And they want to spend more time educating and showing their congregation how TV is affecting lives. So once a week, or actually once a month, during the offering, they will show a testimony of a life that's been changed through the TV outreach. And people love it. For years, the Christian TV model has pretty much required 52 new shows every year. And that grind has kept many churches and ministries away. But lately, the last few years, I've been seeing some networks open to more of a 13-week model. So let's say you do 13 great episodes. After those have run, rerun them again. And during that period, you're producing new shows and then they air. So television becomes more of a rhythm, not a scramble for your staff. Consistency matters. Quality sustains. So how many digital followers would sit with you for 30 minutes every week for the next 5 years? Because TV viewers do. Broadcast isn't about clinging to the past. It's about showing up where trust still lives. Digital matters, but digital only may not be enough. Thinking like a producer means asking harder questions. Where's the audience? Where can we show up consistently, not just where it's easy to measure? Digital matters, but producers don't eliminate platforms just because they're harder to quantify. They steward reach. TV isn't dead. Churches just stop using it strategically. Maybe it's time to think like a producer again. I'd encourage you as the media director or pastor to put broadcast back into consideration. If you need help doing that, I've done it for many churches and ministries. Contact me. I'd love to help you out. Until next time, think like a producer.